Hey friends, I didn't get that quite right. My name's Aaron Ciotti. I got a haircut. Welcome to 5-inch Friday. We're gonna. I think I'm done with the high pitch propeller testing on the death machine that tried to cut my fingers off yesterday. So we're gonna have story time about that. Yeah. Fucking nightmare, man. But I think I got away with it. We'll see. Yeah, we'll talk about it in a minute. I also did a little bit of work on the Fly 533 2207 freestyle glide. Not much to say about that other than what I did to it. Because I didn't get to fly it because I was just squirting blood out of my right hand. So yeah, there's that. These are the props that I've tested on the Cineglide. These are like the highest pitch propellers that I've been able to find. What's the deal, HQ? Where are your guys' high pitch props? HQ, where are your 5.5 inch propellers? Where are your super pitchy 5-inch props? Where are they at? These are all GemFans, which is great. Nothing wrong with GemFan, but I would love. Wait, no, there is some HQs in here. The S5. Okay, so 5 GemFan props and 1 HQ prop. Seriously though, where are all the really high pitch HQ props? I looked on PyroDrone. I didn't see any. And does HQ not have any 5.5-inch props? If anybody knows of them, let me know in the chat. What you were just watching was the first battery that I flew at that spot. Some of you OG folks might recognize that spot. That was right down the street from my apartment when I lived in Alpharetta. And that's the spot that used to have the giant crane that I have an entire edit just railing a 15-ish story high crane. And there's no crane there anymore because they finished building the hotel. And that spot is like all built up now and all fancy looking. I was up in Alpharetta getting my haircut, And so on my way home, I figured, I'll stop and try to chop my fingers off. That's a good idea, right? It was a Thursday. Good day to lose a whole bunch of blood and almost have to go to the effing hospital. Jesus. So there's that. In the chat, Spaceman Spiff was first, Rockcrawler, Tamava, Gusto, Matthew W, Uriel, El Chingon, Hendrix, Freakazoid, Uriel, what's up, friends? So... Oh, shitters. I didn't mean to do that. I'm going to see... I have not tried to fly since this little accident. I got a couple tiny whoop batteries on the charger. I'm gonna pull a few of these. I'm just gonna leave 2 tiny whoop batteries on the charger. Maybe we'll fly. I'm gonna try to fly on this live stream. We'll see how it is, but no promises because this hurts. This fucking hurts really bad. But we'll see. I'm super curious if I can fly. Sad 4th of July to everyone. There's absolutely nothing to be happy about today. It's embarrassing. So there's that. If you go fly fireworks, have a good time and mourn the death of so many government programs that helped so many people that needed a hand. If you've ever moved back in with your parents and you look down on homeless people, take a good look in the mirror, because if you didn't have your parents, your ass would have been homeless too. So just keep that in mind. Okay. Yeah. Sad, disgusting couple of days in this country. But, there's been a lot of those days this year. Moving on. So, all right, let's talk about safety for a minute, because this is a super important kind of reminder. I've had kind of a cycle in FPV over the last decade where I'll be very careful with safety, and then no accidents for a couple of years. Little by little, I get a little bit more kind of brazen, a little bit less safe, and then something will happen. And then I'll be super safe again for another few years, and then get a little bit sketchier, a little bit sketchier, and then something will happen again. This is now the 3rd time that has happened, that cycle has occurred. Early days, it was both of the previous 2 times. It was 3-inch rigs, and it wasn't bad at all. I've got a couple of little scars on. It keeps happening to my right hand. I've got a scar here. I've got a scar here, and now I'm gonna have one hell of a scar here. This is hamburger. It's bad. The first time was with a 3-inch. I forget what the build was the first time, but it was a 3-inch rig with relatively powerful motors. I went to the hospital, and basically, the doctor had me put my hand up. It was I think the first time it was my index finger. And the doctor, I waited for a while, and then I get in there, and the doctor's like, "All right, cool, hold your hand up," and he's like, "I'm gonna put my finger here." And he goes, "Push against it." And I pushed against it, and he's like, "All right, you're good." He gave me a Band-Aid, and that was it. $500 for a fucking Band-Aid. I was really worried the first time because it hit up here, and I was worried that it might have nicked the tendon or something like that. And he's like, "Look, if you can push against my finger with any amount of force, and it's not absolutely awful, pain-wise, you're completely fine." Remember that, because you'll probably chop your hand up at some point. Maybe you don't need to go to the hospital and spend hundreds of dollars. Second time it happened, I just did that little thing, that little trick. Second time it happened was with an Acrobrat on 1507s. That might have been this one, I'm not sure. But I I didn't go to the hospital, and it was totally fine. Healed up, super painful, whatever. This time, it was with the death machine. This is the most powerful quad that I've got. I built this to go 100 miles an hour with no props in view. It's got Brother Hobby 2507 motors, which are outrageously powerful. Yeah, it was it was fucking nasty, yo. It was really bad. A lot of blood. Basically what happened was it was the third battery that I was flying on this guy, which was my last battery for this. I'd planned on flying. I had one battery charged for the 5-inch freestyle rig that I was going to fly after. Some random guy saw me flying and came over and he was asking me a bunch of questions. So like I was talking to him. So I was distracted from that. The biggest thing that caused this, though, to be completely honest, is the amount of time that went by between the last time that this has happened, which is probably like 4 or 5 years, to be honest. And I've been almost exclusively flying tiny whoops for the past couple of years. Like I fly 5-inch at like Rampage, here and there every once in a while, a couple of times a year, but that's really it. And flying tiny whoops, I just developed a bunch of bad habits. Like they're a joke, right? Like they're fucking stupid and small, and I've hit myself full steam, and like I've had the propellers hit me and they don't break the skin, and it's just, and so like, you know, manhandling tiny whoops, just not caring. Instead of setting up, so the proper solution and what you should do is have a prearm set up. I don't know how to do it, but you can have a prearm. The best setup, I think, is to use your momentary switch. And your momentary switch has to come up, and then you can arm. And then you let the momentary switch go down, and then disarming happens immediately. But in order to arm, the momentary has to come up, and then you have to arm. That's what you should do. That would have 100% prevented this from happening. Some race leagues actually require 2-stage arming, which is a really, really, really good idea. I am super safety conscious, and this happened to me after almost 10 years of flying, okay? It does not matter how religious you are about safety in FPV. This shit's gonna happen to you someday. Unless you, and the more layers that you have of protection, the longer it's gonna be before it happens to you. With dual stage arming, it's probably never going to happen to you. It's certainly never going to happen to you in the way that it happened to me. But like at some point, you're going to have a quad plugged in to the computer. Something weird's going to happen. Like at some point, something's going to happen, for the record. What happened to me... Okay, so what I don't like about dual stage arming, and the reason that part of the reason that I'd never set it up, is that it makes disarming and rearming while you're still in the air damn near impossible, because there's like this extra step, and like the whole disarm arm thing has to happen really quickly in order for you to catch the quad before it hits the ground. And there are situations where disarming and rearming can actually be safer, right? Like if you're flying over people, for example, and you manage to arm and disarm quick enough and you get the hell out of there, right? It's safer for other people, and I will sort of prioritize other people's safety over my own gladly, because this will heal, right? What I've always done is sort of like a faux 2-stage arming, is not drop the throttle all the way to 0. If your throttle is up when I land the quad, I would always land the quad with a little bit of throttle on, instead of doing that really kind of cool thing where you bring it in super gentle and then you just and you lower the throttle all the way down. I was talking to this guy, and I was being a dick, and I landed it like that. I brought it in and dropped it down on the ground at, like, 5% throttle or whatever it takes to get it on the ground, and then zeroed the throttle all the way down, and the motor spin down. It's cool. It sounds cool. It's slick, and then you disarm. And so my throttle is zeroed, and that's why this happened. What ended up happening is that when I reached down to pick this thing up, I picked it up in my right hand. It was sitting like this. I picked it up in my right hand like this. And when I bent forward to pick it up, the transmitter swung forwards. I was talking to this guy. I wasn't paying close attention to the transmitter. As the transmitter swung forward, it rotated like this. And then when I stood up and it swung back, the arm switch armed against my chest. And so I'm now holding it like this, and the prop comes around and tries to eat my pinky. It kind of somehow pulled my ring finger into it too. And then I also got cut on my thumb. I think, no, that makes sense. Yeah, my thumb was off on this side, so my thumb got it a little bit. Thank fucking God that I had 5.1 props on it instead of 5.5 inch, especially these 5.5 inch props, which are like stupid sharp. I mean, the sharpness of the tip of the propeller might not have mattered because it just cuts through. Any of these props cut through your skin like absolute butter. But I am legitimately lucky that I did not have 5.5 inch props on, because like this is where all the damage happened here, right? And if this propeller was 0.4 inches longer, it would have driven into my skin 0.2 inches deeper, and potentially gotten to bone and shit like that. And that's where you're supposed to go to. That's where they say like you have to go to the hospital. If you gash yourself, just in general, we looked this up on Google. Google medical advice coming. If you cut yourself and you see bone, tendon, or fat, go to the fucking hospital. If you don't, they're probably just going to give you a Band-Aid, and it's going to be the most expensive Band-Aid of your life. But yeah, since this has happened to me a couple times, I was like, you know what? Let me drive home. It bled real bad. It squirted blood. There's blood all over the back of the car, on this back. It's not that bad. There was blood all over the ground, though. It looked like a fucking horror scene on the sidewalk there. And I got some blood on the car. I got some blood on this Fly 533 bag. I kind of couldn't believe how much like a finger bled. I ran into I have a pretty gnarly scar up here. When I was in middle school, I was running to try to get to the bus first to get the farthest back seat, and somebody opened one of those giant metal auditorium doors like really hard. Somebody must have like shoved it open, and so I'm running like head down, and somebody opens that door and it just boom. And when that so it left it hit me right here, and by the time so I'm running, and like by the time that I raised my hands up to you whenever you get cut or hurt or whatever, you put your hand on it. As I was like raising my hands up, they got covered in blood. It just like exploded like a fucking geyser out of my head. And like, of course, head wounds do that. Like, there's a lot of blood being pumped to your head, so head wounds do that. I couldn't believe that, like, that's all the way down here from my heart. I couldn't believe how much it kind of bled. The other reason I didn't go to the hospital, though, is that it stopped bleeding pretty quick. I pretty quickly went kind of like this to apply pressure, and I was able to feel where it was all mangled. And so I was able to like stack my fingers up and like push this finger into this finger and then this finger into my thumb. And it stopped bleeding within like 5 minutes. And I got a rag and wrapped it up and then drove home one-handed. Of course, this keeps happening to my right hand, which is what I use to shift gears, right? So yeah, drove home left-handed, using Siri to call Maggie and search the internet and call my insurance company to ask them what hotels I'm actually covered at. Hospitals I'm actually covered at. And I got home and I was like, you know, I'm gonna wait to go to the hospital and let you look at it. I'm like, I have a feeling you're gonna tell me to go to the hospital, Maggie. But she actually looked at it and she's like, well, because she'd been reading on Google and she's like, well, I think we're actually all right. It's gonna hurt like hell. I'm like, all right, good, you're on my side with this, because I ain't paying another fucking $500 for a Band-Aid. And so we'll see. I have a funny feeling that there's some kind of nerve damage, because it is I can't feel anything on the top. So it's right out here. It's like from right past the knuckle all the way down, and it's awful. Like, you can see that, like, the propeller just and just really, like, mangled it. But, like, who cares, right? Like, I hope it doesn't fuck, like, my finger, the shit that grows your fingernail materials in here, your cuticle, I guess it's called. I hope it doesn't, like, fuck that all up. But, like, I don't know. We'll see. It started bleeding. We put Band-Aids on it. It soaked through them. Because, like, I rinsed it out and we disinfected it and all that shit, right? And then in the middle of the night last night, I felt blood. I couldn't sleep because it hurts pretty bad. In the middle of the night, I felt like, because I, you know, being paranoid, like, doing this all the time. At some point, I did this and I could feel blood, and I was like, ah, shit. So I had to get up at like 2 a.m. and the Band-Aid was soaked again. I don't know what happened. Maybe when I was almost falling asleep, I squeezed, I don't know. So I put Band-Aids on it again. These are double thick Band-Aids, and it has kind of, you can kind of see it. It started to soak through again. So I need to switch the Band-Aids one more time. But I think I'm all right. I think I'll be all right. But we'll see. It's hard to see how bad it is, because every time I get the Band-Aids off, it starts bleeding again, and then it's just like a big pool of blood. And like when I rinse it off, it bleeds even worse. So I'm just waiting for it to clot and clot enough that I can rinse it out and see how chopped up it is. But I think it'll be all right. If there's any question, I'll go. If there's any question, I'll suck it up and pay the money. This is why I got health insurance this year. Not that I'll have it by the end of the year, because, you know, Nazi's gonna Nazi. And I mean, not that my insurance is gonna help me at all, right? Because I'm not gonna get to my fucking deductible, so I'm gonna have to pay for all this shit out of pocket, right? But whatever, unless they have to do something wild, right? Like if they have to do some kind of weird reconstructive surgery, then hey, I got super lucky with not having insurance for a few years, saving all that money, and now getting insurance. But yeah, that was my Thursday. Set up a Prearm, maybe. I don't know. For me, it's just a huge reminder. Like, don't take this shit for granted, right? Like, yesterday was like the 4th day in the last week that I'd flown 5-inch rigs, and I didn't respect it, straight up. Like, all the tiny whooping, I lost respect for FPV. Not forgot, like, I obviously knew how dangerous these big rigs are, but just, yeah, lost respect for it. So let this be your moment where you gain all the respect back for even like 3-inch rigs. 3-inch rigs now, 3.5-inch rigs, we've got way more powerful powertrains, and they will absolutely cut the living shit out of you. So like anything north of like 1S, maybe 2S, maybe 2S doesn't have enough stank to cut you bad enough. I don't know. Anything north of 1S, I think, right now is when your respect level for it needs to go all the way back up to 100%. Cool? And if you're anything like me, it's going to slowly kind of do this. Just know that. right? Like that's just sort of human nature. You get good at something, you do something over and over and over again, you develop itty bitty little shortcuts. And so, yeah, let this be the reset button for you. It certainly is for me. Another thing, super easy thing that could have prevented this is if I had unclipped my transmitter and put it in the back tray of my car, and then picked it up without the transmitter on me. Having the transmitter hanging around your neck if you're gonna bend over is a fucking liability if you don't have a some sort of a prearm or two-stage arming. You know, even not zeroing the throttle, like if the transmitter I have my throttle set pretty loose, and so there's a chance, yeah, well, it doesn't go to zero. If you bang it like that, it's actually raising the throttle. I think it's hitting zero and then going up. The zeroing the throttle thing works really well, but it is obviously not infallible, as I found out. And so I don't know if I'm gonna set up I'm probably not gonna set up two-stage arming, because I would rather be safer for other people than myself, and I can stack up a bunch of other processes to make sure that I'm safe, right? Easiest possible thing is just to take the fucking transmitter off and put it down somewhere. In the process of doing that, you know, you pull the fucking throttle up off the bottom, and now you've got the throttle not zeroed and the transmitter is sitting somewhere. If somehow it falls off that surface and arms itself, the throttle is still going to be up. But yeah, just having respect for these things has prevented me from getting hurt for 4 or 5 years now. And that was when it all happened. I was just like, yep. It just immediately, it was like, I wasn't respecting it. I was absolutely not respecting it. Yes, I was distracted talking to this dude. It was hot as balls out, right? I was sweating my ass off. That's going to happen, right? All of those things are going to happen. You're going to be distracted. You're going to be hot as shit, cold as shit, whatever. And so you got to stack safety stuff up so that if you forget 4 of them, you've still got that 5th thing. That's going to keep you safe. So there you go. There's your safety reminder. I didn't actually almost lose a finger, but clickbait is unreasonably effective. And I got lots of good stuff to say. So if you clicked on here because you were happy that I almost lost a finger, I'm going to tell you some good stuff that's going to help you in your FPV journey. And you know, you're welcome. If you want to talk to me in the chat, type CiottiFPV into your chat message. If you do that, it'll light up an orange for me. You can do that with each other. If you want to get Uriel's attention in your chat message, just type his name and spell it correctly. And for him, his own name will light up an orange. John S. with a $3 super chat. Thank you so much for supporting the insanity. You just paid for a bunch of my Band-Aids. Appreciate it, brother. Uriel says, funny plaster. What the hell does that mean? We Bleed FPV, holy shit, with a $49.99. He says 4 Band-Aids, super fund. Zotek, I expect I'm actually running out. I think these are the last 3 We Bleed Band-Aids I have. I expect more Band-Aids the next time I order from you. Because wouldn't it be cool? Look, there's 4 Band-Aids on here. I only had 3. I couldn't actually. I'm using like the fingertip Band-Aids, and these are Welly. If you, I think it's Welly, right? Is it Welly? You know, it's funny. I'm typing into it is Welly. I'm typing into Google Welly Band-Aids. Band-Aid is a brand, right? Let me Google that. You know your brand is successful when the name of your brand becomes a fucking verb for like what you do, right? I'm gonna Google that and I'm gonna search the internet for that, right? Yeah, Welly. These are Welly Band-Aids. They're a little bit more expensive, but they're really nice. They're cloth. The adhesive on them is really good. I'm a Band-Aid aficionado because my generalized anxiety disorder comes out in me ripping the shit out of my fingernails and the skin around my fingers. So I've bought a lot of Band-Aids over the years to cover my fingers up so I can't pick at them like a legitimate crazy person. But yeah, these are welly Band-Aids. Not that anyone cares. Although I'm seeing right now that they have glow in the dark Band-Aids, and you know what? If you sell something that's glow in the dark, I'm in. I'm all the way in. So I'm gonna be buying some welly glow in the dark Band-Aids here at some point. We bleed. Holy cow! Thank you so much, man. Incredibly generous. Uriel says, when you get hurt, come to Holland. It's free. The Dutch, even Belgians, call the DITH firefighters. They're also free. Eco says, now that the Air 65 V2 frame came out, do you think I'm best to upgrade to that or go with the Crown frame or the Cockroach V3, etc.? Eco, you want to watch the live stream a couple days ago where I flew the shit out of and attempted to demolish this new frame. We talked a lot about, like, if you want the TLDR, just go to the end of that live stream. The last, like, 10 minutes of the live stream, I very specifically talk about, like, who this frame is for. As far as I'm concerned, the Cockroach V3, and with all the testing and all the flying that I've done, the Cockroach, you should have a Cockroach V3, Newbie Drone Cockroach V3, Newbie Drone Light AF, and this frame. Those are the 3 frames that you should own. They cover you in 3 different weights, and they cover you on 3 different levels of durability. And to own all 3 of those frames, you're going to pay like $14. So you should have all 3 of those, and then you can make up your own mind. But each one of them is a little bit of a different weight. Each one of them is a little bit different durability. They're all absolutely fantastic. If you run any one of those 3 frames, you're going to be totally happy, and you're going to have one of the 3 best frames in FPV, in tiny whooping, rather. But if you want a little bit more of an explanation, the end of that live stream is where it's at. And a lot of people love that live stream because I crashed 10,000 times, and it was really fun. Matthew W. says, you can do Prearm purely transmitter side somehow, so it'll just work on all your builds. Yeah, that's the way to do it. I'm sure Joshua's got a video on it. Doing it transmitter side in OpenTX, basically it's not going to send the signal. So this is usually like aux1. It won't send that aux1 has changed values signal until you've hit the Prearm sequence. There's probably also a way to do it in Betaflight, but yeah. I'm sure if here on YouTube you type FPV Prearm setup, there's going to be a half a dozen videos that tell you how to do it. It's a really good idea, especially if you're not flying in situations where there's other people at risk, over other people. If you're not flying over other people, you should just do it. Because, like, when you're not flying over other people, the worst case scenario is that you disarm in the air and you try to rearm and it doesn't rearm, and the quad hits the ground and breaks something. Who cares? Spend a couple of dollars, fix it. You're golden. When flying over people, it might not be that simple. And so, yeah, think about it. Andrew Taylor says, I started flicking the turtle mode switch when I land, so at least an accidental arm won't spin the props without also stick input. Good idea or no? That's a great idea, because with turtle mode on, you have to move the right stick for any of the motors to spin up. And so you've added a layer, right? Like, it's not the end all be all, because absolute worst case scenario, the arm switch somehow gets hit. Well, worst case scenario, your throttle goes down to 0, the arm switch gets hit, and then the right thumbstick gets hit. But in most cases, throttle is zeroed, arm switch gets hit, right thumbstick does not get tapped, and then you're good to go. The and even in that worst case scenario, you're probably not going to mash this, right? And you're also probably not going to mash this in the direction that the propeller that is against your skin is, right? So like you've actually kind of added you're adding 2 layers of safety by doing that. So that's actually a great idea. And I might actually start doing that. Because again, it's just stacking safety measures up. And it's something that you can do without a prearm. So that's actually pretty slick, dude. I like that a lot. Not as safe as 2-stage arming, though. I'm going to tell you that right off the bat. Like, there is with 2-stage arming, it can't. The rig can't get armed. You can't accidentally hold one switch and then hit another switch while the throttle is zeroed, right? So if you want another layer of safety, dual arm, pre-arm, whatever the hell you want to call it, dual stage arming, pre-arming, is going to be a little bit safer than that. But that's a really good idea. Uriel says you have to be a little bit lucky during accidents. Yeah, that's true. Cold Power says, dude, that's horrible. I've heard racers will disarm, raise throttle, and rearm to lock out the controls. But I'm not sure if I trust the firmware more than my own diligence. I have, when I realized that I could have two-stage arming by just raising the throttle, I started testing it because I was kind of the same way. I'm like, nah, Betaflight at some point will fuck up. And I tested it hundreds of times. There was, and it's never failed. I've never, ever had a rig arm when the throttle is not zeroed. And so that trick it works. It works for sure until it doesn't, until you don't. That's the problem with the not having the throttle zero, is that you can fuck that up. Right? Dual stage arming, you can't accidentally hold that other switch up. You know what I mean? Like that, the other switch is a thing that like you have to specifically do. So, yeah, not if you don't have a pre-arm set up and you're not zeroing your throttle out. I'm sorry, and you are zeroing your throttle, you should stop doing that. You, at the very least, you should do what I do, and just the easiest thing to do is that you never land at zero throttle. You lower the throttle to land, and you smack the arm switch, and you let the quad drop a little bit, right? Because with tiny whoops, when I land on the desk in front of me, it's super fun to drop it all the way down to zero and have it and land all smooth, and it's cool. But you know, it does not make any sense to build a habit up with tiny whoops if you're gonna fly anything else. And so I need to stop doing it. I need to stop doing that with tiny whoops. I need to stop dropping the throttle to nothing. I have to treat tiny whoops. And this is another huge safety message from me to you, is that you need to do the same thing across the board. And you need to not have a separate thing that you do with tiny whoops that's sketchy for other stuff. And that's another big part of the mistake that I had, that I'd made. So, yeah, build good habits. Cole Power says, the auditorium door to the face explains a lot. Shit. Uriel says, Maggie's a doctor. She did just get her doctorate. So, she is Dr. Corvidae. And she's got a badass tattoo now, too. Cole Power says, not a doctor, but I'd give it a day or two to see if the numbness is temporary. Yeah, it is super beat up. It might be numb just from getting smashed by a piece of plastic 8,000 times in a split second. We'll see. I mean, look, if I'm going to be numb somewhere on my body, being numb right up here, fuck yeah. I know that there's nerve damage from this, because like if I touch this in a specific way, I can feel it like in the back of my head. But it's never really like bothered me. It's always just been like a weird thing. Brian Kirk says, Pavo 20 cut my thumb. It hurt. How much did it bleed? A lot or a little? Sporny says, I also wear my controller crossbody so it doesn't hang in front of me. That's pretty cool. Uriel says, you got distracted by someone with our club of rules to not talk to pilots at such moment. Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. This happened after I landed, right? Like, I was talking to him a little bit when I was flying, but I was concentrating when I was flying. I was not concentrating as much. When the battery on the quad is plugged in, you need to fucking focus, right? Like, until that battery is unplugged and totally safe, you need to be on your game. Dave S. says, fun/annoying part about Prearm is you get that you idiot beeping if you forget. Afeel says, I know you can disable OSD on Betaflight, but how do I get rid of the DJI OSD? I don't think you can. Yeah, I don't think you can. Eco says, missed that stream. I'll go watch it shortly. Much appreciated. You got it, brother. Weebleed says, I got you unlimited batteries. Done deal. Matthew W says, Prearm doesn't have to be right. Correct. Doesn't have to be a momentary switch. I think it should because it's safer that way. If you have an unused double position on the opposite side from the arming switch, you could add that in. Yep. But then obviously, if it's not a momentary switch, if it's just a switch over here and the transmitter goes, or if in your bag your Prearm switch gets flipped, right? You can get screwed by that because with a non-sprung switch, right? With a switch like this, if you set it to the Prearm setting and then you arm, you can disarm, you can rearm, you can disarm, you can rearm, you can right? So if you flip this switch up and then you arm and you fly around and you disarm, if you forget to flip this back, then it's hot, right? You don't have dual switch arming at that point. Also, this could develop a really bad habit of I'm so sick of this Prearm setup, so I'm just gonna leave this switch here all the time. And now you're kind of knowingly doing it, but shortcuts, bro. Human nature, if you haven't cut yourself in 4 years, you could very easily be I'm tired of this today, and that's the one time that it happens. So having a sprung switch is... And what the hell else are you using this for, right? To turn off air mode? Perfect, that's fine. To reset your timer on here? Well, yeah, okay. You're going to hit it at the beginning of the battery, so it kind of doesn't matter. Safest thing is to have it on that sprung switch. Brian Kirk says, I broke my ELRS on my Hummingbird V4. I tried putting on from my GetRC Dark Star, but it didn't seem to fit. Where can I get some, or can I use the antenna that lost the unshielded part? Did you... I'm having to read between the lines a little bit here. Did the antenna break off? If the antenna broke off, you just need to get a replacement 2.4 antenna. Newbie Drone sells them, little tiny yellow bastards. Or you can just Google it. There's a measurement. I want to say it's 23.3 millimeters. If you just Google what's the right antenna length for 2.4 gigahertz, there's plenty of info. Or if you have an old FrSky receiver floating around, you're never going to use it again. Chop the active element of the antenna off and just solder it direct on. You'll be fine. But you can just use a piece of wire. Happy Model does. It just has to be the right length. Brandon Baked Beans says, hair looking great. Thank you, dude. Cole Powers, I was looking forward to coming home yesterday and taking a shower to get all the little bits of hair off me, but haven't been able to do that yet. Although I haven't been itchy, which is nice. Sometimes after I get my hair cut, I'm so fucking itchy. It's ridiculous. This time, not. Thank God. Cole Power says, rearming with non-zero throttle is just an extra something on top of just raising throttle. Rearming with non-zero throttle is just an extra... Oh, okay. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Brian Kirk says, it bled for 5 to 10 minutes. That's not too bad. Cole Power says, he bleed, she bleed, we bleed. Matthew W says, for sure on the momentary... just thinking of ways to add some safety while preserving overcrowd quick rearming. Yeah, man, absolutely. flipping into turtle mode when you land is a really, really good idea. That is a totally easy, totally simple, build that habit and keep it forever kind of thing. That it's not absolutely perfect, but it's damn good. And it absolutely would have saved me yesterday. If I'd flipped it into turtle mode and the transmitter had come around, it would have been hot in turtle mode, but there would have been no reason for me to touch this switch, this thumbstick rather, you know what I mean? So it would have saved me. Although, if that happens, if the transmitter comes around and it arms, you might not realize that it armed. Still safer. It's still not armed, right? But if that had happened, I would have been sitting there with this, holding this in the danger zone. Yeah, it would have prevented. It would have saved me. But at that point, you might not know that it's armed. Although if your transmitter swings forward and then swings back and hits you, you should be looking at the transmitter to see if the switch flipped. In theory, you would have heard, right? You would have heard that noise. I was talking to that dude though, so I might not have heard it. But yeah, I'm 99.9% sure that method is 100% a really good, quick little layer of safety. And literally all it is like you're flying, land, click. Super simple. Left finger, right finger, down into turtle mode. And then if you go to take off again and it doesn't spin the props, oh right, it's in turtle mode, flip it off. So I think that is a really, really nice, super simple thing, super simple layer of security to kind of add in. Even if, to be honest, even if you have dual stage arming, God forbid this switch fails, having it in turtle mode, it's going to save you. So that's a really, really good idea. Cole Power, no. Oh wait, Cole Power says I think he means the UFL is not standard size. Ah, you're right. Yeah, it's an IPEX or whatever the hell the smaller UFL is. Newbie Drone sells them. I don't know if anybody else sells them. Technically, you could rip the pad off and solder directly to it as long as you don't rip. But don't do that. Just get a replacement from Newbie Drone. They sell them. Michael Blade says, hey. Brandon's Baked Bean says IPEX 4. There it is. IPEX 4, IPEX 1. Yeah, IPEX 4. Brandon's calling it out. I didn't know this. IPEX 1 is the same as UFL. IPEX 4 is the smaller one. Michael Blade says, where do I put the brass nuts on the FPVCycle 8mm frame? I don't know. I don't have that frame. Can you see in the pictures? Glide 8. Look, he did a little bit of something to the website. Brass nuts, huh? I don't see any brass nuts. Ah, you put them here. You put them right there. What is this cursor thing? If they're, yeah, I suspect that you put them on tops of the arms here. That's an interesting setup. If there's 8 of them, you put them here. You put them right there. Because there's nowhere else to put them on here. Yeah, there's nowhere else to put them. So they have to be there. They're brass. That's kind of ugly. Oh well. You'll never see them because you'll be flying it. All right. So, prop testing on the Cinesplorer. By the way, I ranted and raved about HQ not having any high pitch or 5.5-inch props, and nobody tagged me in the chat and said, "You dumbass, they do too. Search for this." So, do they seriously not? Hold on. HQ 5.5 inch prop. All right, so they do. Oh, these are old school though. Yeah, I'm not even gonna try these. These are super old. These are, this is the old like V1S, V1S profile. It looks like. Oh my God, yeah, this is super. You know, a propeller is super old if it's set up for Popo. Holy shit, dude! Remember Popo? Who remembers Popo? Yeah, there it is. Yeah, it's a super old I mean, some of these GemFan props are really old too, but like, I don't know. I never loved this V1S style blade design. It always seemed kind of like Fisher-Price, my first blade blade design. They are in stock though. I will. Oh, and they make them in red. Yeah, okay, we're good. I'm getting it. I'll get a set. Oh, okay. There's more. No. These are the same ones. Speedy FPV. What the hell is Speedy FPV? I've never heard of that. Oh, these are different. This is not the V1S blade profile. These are not very pitchy though. 3.5 pitch. What are these other ones? These are 3.5 pitch too. Yeah, none of these are pitchy enough. None of these are pitchy enough. I'm not gonna try these. The GemFan 5536s are not pitchy enough, and they're a really new. They're a new propeller. So, yeah, there's no reason to go with. This is like a 5 or 6 year old propeller here. This HQ. These GemFan 5536s came out like last year. So yeah. But then what about like pitchy? Where are the pitchy HQ propellers? I looked on Pyrodrone, and there just like weren't any. Are they do they just not care about that segment of our little world? Yeah. I mean, they have some super pitchy props, but they're old. They're old V1S design. Yeah, strange. I guess they've just like really focused on lightweight freestyle props. They don't have something like the 5152 or the 5552. That's okay, which is, I mean, that's fine. That's fine. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 props here that I tested. So yeah, there's the glow in the dark ones. Look at those. All right, so I'm gonna play some flight footage here. You haven't seen the flight footage from this spot. It's gonna be the I'll go through the 03 stuff. So at the beginning, well, I'll play it. So here's the 5552s. I am blown away, absolutely blown away that these Brother Hobby 2507s have enough power to control these gigantic 5552 propellers. I'm gonna weigh a bunch of these props real quick. No, don't have a dead battery. Little scale, be cool. These props that I'm flying in this video are 6.6 grams each. 5552 GemFan 5.5 inch 52 pitch. They're ridiculous. This is the 5536. This is 5 grams right on the nose. This is the GemFan 5152. Super pitchy, but just 5 inches, 5.1 inches. This guy is 5.25 grams per propeller. This is the GemFan 5149-9. Really big, thick, strong racing propeller. This is 5.15 grams. And then this is the Ethics S5, which flattened out. I'll play that in a second. So definitely no good for powerful motors. 3.96 grams. And then on the quad are the GemFan 5147s, which were way better than these S5s. They didn't flatten out, and they were just great. And they weigh pretty much the same as what these S5s weigh. And so if I was going to run a really lightweight propeller, it would absolutely be the props that tried to remove my finger from the rest of my hand. But these motors have enough stank to control these really pitchy props, and so that's what I'm gonna run. This build is for going really fast, and when you're going really fast, you want a pitchy propeller. You can go really fast on low pitch propellers, but you have to run a ton of RPM to do it, and in doing so, it's going to create a lot of extra heat, right? That crazy RPM is going to make more heat in the bearings. If you don't have to do it, don't do it. The lighter weight propellers are not designed to go super fast. They're designed to spin up and spin down quickly. They're designed for other things. For nose down, charging 70, 80, 90 miles an hour for the entire battery, which is what I want from this thing for chasing objects that go those speeds, a high-pitch propeller is ideal. If you want to do a little bit of reading about pitch, just Google it. It's pretty fascinating, to be honest. I've skimmed through a few articles. This is like a couple years ago when I was first looking at, when I first built this thing a couple years ago, actually. Yeah, essentially, like with more pitch, with more blade angle, the faster you go, it's just, I believe it's actually more efficient, because you're not like band-aiding it. See, so that's what I mean when like letting it drop a little bit there, that's what you want to do. Not zeroing the throttle, just getting it really low and then disarming to let it drop. That's what you want to do. And that's what I didn't do. Here, you can probably see it. So here's just super quick. Here's the 5147 battery. You can probably see me not land it like that. Not let it drop when it landed. Oh, and I landed it in the grass too. It looks like I let it drop. I wonder how the throttle got zeroed. It looks like I did let it drop a little bit. I must have disarmed it and then smacked the throttle down to zero. Regardless, the throttle was obviously zeroed, so I fucked up. So that was the 5152s. Here's the S5s. I'm gonna play hold on. One of the things that I wanted to show you though is, if the computer will wake up, is the searching for Jello runs that I did. So here's one. So this is ramping the throttle from like 20% all the way up to I think 80, and bright ass sun, middle of the day, sun's really high, no Jello at all. A little bit of a bobble that I covered up with pitching it down, but that you know, push anti-gravity, just kind of deal with that. Super solid dive performance all the way to the ground, right? Like big heavy propeller, but big heavy gnarly motors. So I think that I'm gonna run the 5552s on this, because like the 5552s have the best of both worlds that I'm really looking for, which is as much efficiency as possible, which they get from being bigger, right? Being a 5.5 inch prop, they're going to be more efficient than a 5-inch prop. But then they're also crazy pitchy, 52 pitch, and that's going to just charge forward at 1,000,000 miles an hour all the time. Here's the S5. If you've ever wondered what it sounds like when a propeller flattens out, you're about to hear it. So let me just shut up, and I'm going to give you the thumbs up when it happens. Still moving. Flies good with these. A little bit there. It was a little bit there. I noticed it just a little bit, and now I'm taking the motor limiting from 90% up to 100%. So, and this, you'll really be able to hear it here, I think. Here we go. Ready? That's the guy. I thought you'd be able to hear it better. I think I'd already heard it. I think I'd already heard it, and I knew that it was there. Let me see if I can catch it here. It happens in turns. So when I'm hard on the throttle in a turn... That was it. There it was. Hear it change pitch? It... Oh, it did it there, too. Hold on. When you're at full throttle... So, when you go full throttle... I might as well let this... rest of this play. When you're at full throttle... When you're headed towards full throttle, the pitch is going to go up and up and up and up and up. When you get to full throttle, it's going to level out, and it's going to be the same pitch. If that pitch as in like, right, like the pitch, not propeller blade pitch, musical pitch, audible pitch. If the pitch goes up and up and up, and then it changes while you're still at full throttle, that's the propeller flattening out. It'll also sometimes kind of warble, but not necessarily. And so you put it into a when you just do it when I was just full throttle in a straight line, it was actually fine. It wasn't until I put it into a turn that it put extra load on the propellers and the blade flattens itself out. It's starting to like lose the blade is losing its angle, and it's literally flattening out. It's bending. And it's really bad. It kills efficiency. The quad kind of freaks out. It's really bad. You cannot run a propeller that is gonna do that. The lighter weight propellers on really powerful motors will do it. Someday you'll hear it, and it's unmistakable. But like, regardless, if you're at full throttle, it needs to stay. No matter what you're doing, if you're turning, like sometimes the motor, like if you turn really hard and the motor is not powerful enough, it might like, but it shouldn't go like and sound like a weird fucking goose. It kind of sounds like a goose. It's a pretty unmistakable kind of thing when a propeller flattens out. And the quad is gonna go bananas when it happens. Like it's gonna wobble all over the place because it's losing a whole bunch of thrust. And so the PID loop is actually going to pour it on, and it's going to put a bunch more power into that motor, and that's going to make the situation even worse. And I think that's when it starts to like warble, because like the PID loop is jamming more power in there, and it already flattened out a little bit. Now it's going to flatten all the way out, and then it's going to wobble, and the PID loop is going to back it off for a second, and then it's going to not flatten out, and then it's going to put power to it again. It's going to flatten out again. You can almost like kind of take a blade and just be able to tell. Like, so for example, right, none of these other propellers flattened out. This is the one that did, right? So this is an Ethics S5. So if I just take this blade, this propeller blade, and if I just like, boy, is it hard for you to see that, but what's literally happening is that the end of the blade is not maintaining its angle, and it's twisting like this. So if you take a propeller and you twist the end of the blade like this, and then you take another propeller and you twist the end of the blade like that, like you'll feel it. I just went super extreme. Let's go to the GemFan 5536, which didn't flatten out. So if I try to flatten this out and just twist it a little bit, and then I take the S5, yeah, I mean, it's absolutely night and day. Like this is floppy as fuck. The S5 is super floppy. And then this 5536, is, I can still twist it, but it's way stiffer. You can very easily feel that. And then if I take one of these big monsters, this doesn't budge. Like, this is like welded in place. And this is the 5149. This 51499. And this is super strong as well. You can also just kind of like look at a propeller. Like, you can just look at the blade and see how thin it is. If you're gonna run a massive motor, you got to be able to look at that blade and see some fucking meat, baby. You want meat. You need meat. Ouch. Fuck you. Oh my God. What is the matter with me? So yeah, there you go. That was the S5 battery. Here comes the 5147 battery that ended horribly. Come on, computer. You're pulling these files off of a hard drive that is infinitely fast. Here's the O3 footage. The guy was like, "Can you fly around my car?" I was like, "Yeah. I'll do what we call an orbit." It's a shame he was driving a Nazi mobile. So yeah, just whopping around in the 5147s. To be honest, if I was gonna run like a lightweight 5-inch prop on this thing, it would absolutely be the 5147s. They are amazing. Great power, super lightweight. The PID loop was loving life. No jello at all. They're a new prop, so they're super well balanced. Very, very impressed by the 5147s. But a lot less pitch and 5 inches, 5.1 inches versus 5.5. So they're going to be less efficient, and they're not going to be as fast as these giant 55, 52s. Plus, let's be honest. I have the opportunity to have this be the propeller on one of my builds. God damn it, I'm going to get these. BMF Spade says, I have some gate breaker 5x5.3x3s. Throw those in the trash, brother. Gate breakers and the other prop from Lumineer that came out at that time, they have they have a weird harmonic. The blade of the propeller is like the exact wrong length or material or combination of the two, and those propellers have a nasty harmonic that they'll get into at like a specific throttle, and they're like it's really nasty. Don't if you probably haven't flown those propellers, either just throw them away or fly them, and you'll see they'll be like if you sit there and you just roll the throttle up really slowly, they'll be like 47.5% throttle, that the rig starts making a really weird noise, and it's the propellers literally finding this weird harmonic frequency, and they're oscillating on their own. It's super weird. Shit, what was the other one? Gatebreaker and I forget, but yeah, Lumineer made two props, and I don't know what happened. I don't know if maybe the prototypes were a different material, and then when they made the actual propeller, it was just perfectly wrong. But yeah, those are a prop that so many people are, like, even to this day. I'm like, how did you, like, who still has those are old propellers, and GetFPV stopped selling them forever ago when people started like saying, "Yo, what the fuck is with these props?" Yeah, people will be like, I put these props on, and now all of a sudden my shit's making a weird noise in the air. And like, you'll get 80 Facebook comments that are like, "Ah, it's your PID loop. It's definitely your PID loop. Ah, it's your filters. It's definitely your filters. Fuck yeah, you're an idiot. Yeah, you're an idiot. It's because you're an idiot." And then one OG person will go in there and be like, "Let me guess, they're gate breakers, right?" And the original poster will go, "They are. How'd you know?" Devin D says, "How did the guy react to watching you slice your finger?" Not well. He was like, "Whoa." he kept like stepping back. He's like, "You all right? You all right?" Can you imagine, like, somebody's flying a drone, and you're like talking to him all cool, everything's chill, and he gashes his fucking hand open and bleeds all over the concrete. I was like laughing the whole time because I knew it wasn't that bad, but like, I was laughing about it. I'm like, you know, this is the scary side of this. Like, you got to respect these things, and I absolutely lost respect for a second, and this is what can kind of happen. But yeah, that guy's gonna have a fucking story to tell. All right, let me get caught up on chat here. Actually, hold on. Before that, the GemFan 51449 these were okay, but they're only a 5-inch propeller, right? So I'm sacrificing some efficiency over the bigger 5552. The GemFan 5152 was really good, really fast, but again, it's only a 5.1 inch prop, so I don't get the benefit of extra efficiency that I do with the 5552. Both of these propellers are lighter, and the PID loop runs a little bit better because there's quicker response time. But the 5552s are not so bad that right. We're balancing a couple things here. We're balancing like flight performance, efficiency, amount of pitch, and how well balanced they are. Those are the 4 big things that I was trying to get the best combination of with these propellers. The 5552 maxes out the efficiency and the pitch quotients or whatever, and they're well balanced enough. And so this has the most of all those things that I'm trying to balance, which is why I think that I'm going to end up going with these. These two guys have just as much pitch, but they're not going to be as efficient. This guy is the best balanced of the really pitchy props. This is super pitchy. The best balance, and it's a little bit lighter weight, so it has a little bit better flight performance. So does the 5152. It's got really good flight performance, a little bit lighter weight, tons of pitch. It's not as well balanced as this 5149. So there's the plus and minus of these two. The 5147s max out the flight performance. They're nice and lightweight. The PID loop is super happy, great response time with these, but again, sacrificing efficiency and sacrificing pitch. They're not actually 47 pitch. Then we've got the Ethics S5, which just flattened out. It's just a total no-brainer, no-go on a big, powerful motor. And then there's the GemFan 5536, which is... If I fly this thing and I don't have to go super fast, this is the propeller. 5.5 inch, so it maxes the efficiency out. 36 pitch, it's got some pitch, but it doesn't have nearly as much, 36 versus 52. Big difference in speed between these two. But yeah, if I just needed to go up in the air and cruise around, this is lighter weight than this. So for the flight performance, this is noticeably better. The PID loop is much happier with a lighter weight propeller, quicker response time on this lighter weight prop. And so like if I just have to go 30, 40, 50, 60 miles an hour, this 5536 is probably the way to go. But yeah, for going fast and being efficient, 5552. The other thing that I have to kind of keep in mind with this rig is that if I'm going to carry around a GoPro Hero, which is wider, it will not clear the 5.5 inch propeller. So this rig is in this funny place where like, there's like a bunch of different propellers that are going to work for it. So like, I'm going to have like a little stash with 5552s, 5536s, 5152s. Maybe not. Maybe this 5149. I think I'm gonna fly this one more time, and I'm gonna back to back these 5149-9s and these 5152s, or maybe I'll just take another look at the flight footage to see if these 5152s are out of balance. These are the oldest propeller, and the older the propeller, typically the less balanced they are. And I thought that I might have seen some jello at some point with these. And so these 5149s might be a better bet than these. But yeah, if I put the Hero on here, I have to use a 5.1 inch prop because it takes up the extra space. The 5.5 inch props won't clear. And so these 5147s will also be in that little stash. So I'm going to have like a little stash for this rig with the 5147s, which are for not going super fast, 5152 or 5149 for going really fast with a Hero, and then 5136 for going slow with a session or just nothing, no HD cam if I'm just using the O3 or if I'm doing live broadcast work, and then the 5552s for going really fast and having efficiency. Kind of annoying. On one hand, it's kind of annoying that there's 4 different propellers for this one build, but on the other hand, that's kind of ideal, right? Like, you've got a build, and like you build it to do something. If you can somehow manage to lock down the motor's frame, battery size, all that stuff, and then you can just change, and it works for a bunch of different scenarios. If you can then just remove M5 nuts and change propellers to further dial that build in for specific scenarios, that's great, right? Then you don't have to like, oh, I want to go really fast. I got to desolder all 4 of these motors and put big ass motors on. Oh, I want really long runtime. I got to do something weird and put like a giant battery on this thing. You know what I mean? So this build is, and like, you know, the fact that what makes it really annoying and doubles the amount of props is the fact I wish that these arms were a little bit longer, and I wish that I could clear 5.5 inch propellers while carrying a Hero, rather than just the little narrow Session 5 on here. But that's, you know, with these arms, the length that they are, the propellers matching up with the camera is going to give me the best possible performance, right? The shorter the arms, the better. And so I choose to look at it from that perspective of the arms are the exact right length where I can do 5.5 inch on the small camera, and then the 5 inch props flew fine. You just, you know, I've been playing a bunch of flight footage from the 5 inch props versus the 5.5s, and I bet you guys can't see a difference. I can feel a difference when I put the really heavy batteries on it. When I put the 6S 1700 mAh battery on this thing, the 5 inch props have noticeably less float than the 5.5s. I'm not gonna fly it freestyle, so who cares? It matters because of efficiency. But yeah, it's this is a 4 propeller rig, but again, that allows me to specifically dial it in for the situation that I'm flying it in, and that's kind of cool, you know. Like, I buy lots and lots and lots of propellers because they're cheap and because they change the way these things perform, and it's a nice exercise in like trying to feel and notice that change in flight performance. And so like a lot of times I test a bunch of props and then they just sit. They're not my favorite, and they just sit in a bag somewhere. It's kind of cool that I'm going to have a little bag specifically for this rig with 4 propellers that do things very specific. You know what I'm saying? I just have to decide between these two. So there you go. If you're looking to build a rig that goes really fast, I think that your 3 main propeller options are right here. 5552, 5152, 5149.9. These are the best that I've kind of found. If you have another option, do let me know. But yeah, these are the way to go. S5, absolutely not. You do not want to put these on anything with a motor north of like 2207. I'll bet you there are 2207 motors that would flatten these damn things out though. So I don't know about these. This is an old propeller anyway. You might not even be able to get these anymore. And then the 5536 is a really good prop. New, well-balanced, great blade profile. Just not super pitchy, right? So not for going fast. This is for efficiency. This is a really really good, efficient 5.5-inch propeller. There aren't many builds that have arms that will only clear 5.5-inch props. Typically, it's going to be 5-inch or 6-inch or 7, obviously. And so this is a pretty rare propeller. But if you've got I don't know if now there are good 6-inch props, but there used to not be any good 6-inch propellers. A little bit of inside baseball for you. One of the early days of FPV, one of the reasons that we settled on 5-inch propellers, is that this polycarbonate material, at a 5-inch blade length, it's kind of optimized. That is like sort of the optimized blade length for this particular material. In terms of not oscillating, not flattening out, not having weird bullshit issues. 5.5 inch is absolutely fine, but what we saw is a lot of the 6-inch props, this is not the right material. So like with a 6-inch propeller, you want to go, and we see this with 7-inch propellers, you want to go to like a glass nylon, a stiffer material, or you have to do like really thicken up the propeller to kind of fix it. So if you've got a rig that's got 6-inch arms, you're probably going to be better off running a 5.5-inch propeller to get away from that. 6 inches is where this PC material becomes not really viable. There are probably 6-inch props out there that are glass fiber or glass nylon, whatever the hell it's called. Ooh. So yeah, if you've got a rig with 6-inch arms, try these 5536s. These are a brilliant propeller. So there you go. There's the end of my Cineglide propeller testing. It's good to go. It's going to go up on the shelf when I go. I'm probably going to fly it a few more times. I can't have the last time that I flew it be the time that it chopped me to bits. But yeah, it's going to live up there again where it used to live. And I'll take that freestyle rig down and figure out what the hell's wrong with it. And yeah, it'll be great. All right, let me get caught up on chat. I am going to take a break from flying this thing for reasons. And so I am going to put these 5552s on it. Okay. It looks bad fucking ass with these big propellers on it too. Like it looks like an absolute death machine. These 5147s do not belong on this. Big old black propellers on here. Maybe I'll print a black session mount for it. And it'll look extra evil. It'll look Dr. Evil. I'm so sorry. Michael Blade says hello. We got that. Cole Power says, I'm in a hammock right now. Watching flight footage is crazy. Yes, I've flown from a swinging hammock. It's definitely super disorienting. I would vomit. Michael Blade says, do I install the brass nuts on the FPVCycle Glide 8mm under the stack in VTX? Oh, maybe. If they are M2, if they are M2 nuts, then yes, they're probably for under the VTX and or stack. Cole Power says, it wobbles when you blip and or drop the throttle. Yes. The 5552s, being 6 grams per propeller, have the worst response time of all of these propellers, and they absolutely wobble, what we call throttle, the worst out of all these propellers. That's me flying this thing freestyle though. That is me specifically flying it really hard to try to bring out that behavior and see how bad it is. This is built to be a working rig. This is absolutely not a freestyle rig. And so I will fly this very smooth. And I will never just chop the throttle or hammer the throttle with this thing. And so I'm prioritizing speed and efficiency over flight performance a little bit with these 5552s. If for some reason I'm in a scenario where I am going to be hammering the throttle and chopping the throttle, I'll go with some of the lighter weight propellers on this guy, like the 5536s or the 5152s, right? But yeah, I am absolutely prioritizing different things other than raw flight performance. I would really like to try to catch a windy day because the last like worry that I have about these 5552s is that because of their little bit slower response time, there's a chance that in 20 mile an hour, 25 mile an hour wind, the PID loop won't be able to keep it completely solid. And so that's like the last little bit of testing that I need to do on this thing. I think it's going to be totally fine though, because it's not that bad. Like, it definitely doesn't come through in the video, but like just having flown a lot over the last 10 years, I can kind of tell when the response time is too slow, and when it's going to be a problem, and it does not feel like that. That's what continues to impress me about these 5552s is that every time I fly it, I'm like, yo, this definitely feels a little bit more sloppy than the rest of these propellers, but it doesn't feel so sloppy that it's going to be a problem, basically. And like that will never come through the internet, right? That's something that like I can feel on the sticks. I can feel it when I jam the throttle. I can feel it when I jump off the throttle. I can feel it when I hammer a bunch of roll in. It's just that like that feeling of how quickly it responds. And I think it's fine. I think it has just enough response time where it's going to be okay in the wind. But yesterday was actually kind of windy. There was like, when I did that big dive, it's one of the ways you can suss that out too, is just to go 399 feet up, point the nose down, and just drop it and just let it sit at idle, right? At idle, the motors have the least amount of power. And so if the response time is really bad on a dive like that, it's gonna start wobbling and you'll see it. It'll be a mess. And this thing is rock solid, diving all the way down to the ground. So yeah, I think that the response time is just good enough where it'll stay locked in whenever it needs to. So, but good catch. You're absolutely right. I could also increase anti-gravity to help with that if that really bothers me. Anti-gravity is the thing in Betaflight that's specifically there to handle that material. The way that material, great, to handle that behavior. What anti-gravity does is it increases the PID values, I believe P and I nowadays, when you move the throttle quickly. So you move the throttle up or down quickly, and it artificially multiplies the PIDs. And that artificially gives it more power. That artificially makes the response time better. And it's a multiplier, and it's pretty aggressive out of the box. The default setting for anti-gravity is 8. So I believe it's multiplying the PIDs by a factor of 8 for like a split second when you move the throttle quickly up and down. And that's usually enough to take care of most throttle bobbles on a really lightweight propellered kind of freestyle setup. Typically, you don't have to move the anti-gravity around. What I've found is that, like, if you have to move the anti-gravity up, let me take a step back. One of the default value of 8 doesn't typically have any negative consequences. If you start moving it up to 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, what starts to happen is you've made it overly aggressive, and then what you'll get is a double throttle hit. You'll go full throttle, or you'll chop the throttle and it'll go like, you'll hear it. It mainly does it when you zero the throttle, because you zero the throttle out, the motors drop down, but then the anti-gravity is so aggressive that it blips the motors again to keep it totally solid. So you get like a split second of drop, and then it flattens back out, and then it drops again. And that just doesn't look right. You can hear it. It's too aggressive at that point. The stock value of 8 is like just about perfect. And if that is not enough, you should look at more powerful motors or lighter weight propellers. This thing is not this is not doing that. The flight performance is good enough, and so yeah. But I am sacrificing a little bit of that. If for some reason I had a gig where I needed to hammer the throttle or chop the throttle a bunch, I would take these props off and I would run a different propeller. And that's why I'm going to have a little Cineglide bag with 4 different props for different uses. Do they even still sell these GemFan 5552s? I think I have a big bag of them somewhere that they sent me in a sponsor box. But yeah, look, Pyrodrone sells them. What colors do they make them in? Hold on, I just sliced my thumb webbing all up, tightening these propellers down. I don't miss that about 5-inch rigs. You guys, those of you that fly a lot of 5-inch, is the inside of your hand here just always ruined? It depends. These 5552s are outrageously sharp. Some propellers aren't as sharp. I have them in red. Oh, they do have them in. That's right. I have some in clear. This might look cool in clear. Oh, look, they're in stock all over. Wow, they're really cheap on GetFPV. Oh my God, they're really cheap everywhere. Yeah, I remember this. They don't have great colors. This light blue is cool and all, but it's not my style. The clear I really like. The red is like, it's a little kind of too red. I have a couple sets of these. The pink is a little bit too pink. It's not my vibe. The black is where it's at. I wish they had like a oh, the black's unavailable. Look at that. I wish they had like a purple or like a see-through red. This is a little too red. I don't know. Oh, wait, no. Oh, the black is out of stock. They have the pink. We're good. I would probably get clear if I was going to get anything. $2.65. Look at that for the clears. I'm leaving this tab open. I'm going to get a couple more sets of the clears, I think. This thing has arm LEDs, big bright arm LEDs. And so the black props don't even show up in the arm LEDs. I think the clear props might look pretty cool with LEDs shooting up at them. So yeah, you can still get the 5552s, which is awesome. They're a hell of a prop, yo. This thing set up like this with a great big motor. You put your FPV camera at like 30 degrees up tilt, 40 degrees up tilt, and you put the nose down on this thing. Like you are just gone. It just goes, man. It's which is exactly what I wanted from this build. So it's yeah, for me these are kind of perfect. But yeah, you can definitely notice the pitch when you're flying these propellers. They just like as you put the nose down more and more, they just go faster and faster and faster and faster. Like with low pitch propellers, Kebab once described it as he was actually talking about one of the tricopter rigs that he built. But he said something that kind of stuck with me. He said he was actually doing the same thing too. This is when he was working with Justin Skinner. Yes, that Justin Skinner, the live broadcast guy that flies all of the rallycross events and all the fancy shit and all the Formula D stuff. This is when him and Bob were working together to kind of figure out how the hell to get 100 miles an hour with as much efficiency as possible. And Bob looked at like tricopter setups, and towards the end of him developing that rig, he said he's flying it around, and he said it just feels like it's stuck in second gear. And that is exactly what a low pitch propeller that you put a shitload of RPM into feels like. Like you go and it could faster, not quite as fast, not quite as fast. Like it still goes faster, right? Like it still continues to go faster, but like if it was like a graph of like speed versus pitch, it would be like normal, and then it would like kind of flatten out. And like as you add more pitch, it only goes a little bit faster. These big bastards, it's just like a 45-degree line. Like the more pitch, the faster it goes. A lot faster. Like, and it just keeps accelerating more and more and more. And if you read an article or two about propeller pitch and the physics behind it, it kind of talks about that, where like having more blade angle just allows it to do more work. As you go faster and faster, the incoming air comes in at a higher speed, right? And so with a really pitchy propeller, it's able to take that air that's coming in faster and push it out, like with like, I think with better efficiency. But what they also talk about is that you have more control when that kind of happens, and that's just sort of the way that it feels when you fly a pitchy propeller and you go fast. It feels very balanced regardless of what your pitch angle on the quad is at. When you do it with a low pitch propeller with 1,000,000 RPM, it just feels weird up here, and you don't like the quad feels one way down here between 0 and like 30 degrees, and then it feels different between like 40 and 60 degrees of nose down, and that's not necessarily what you want. So there's my cursory understanding of propeller pitch. Up here it goes. You can make me bleed again in the future, little friend. This guy is up next. This is my other analog 5-inch freestyle rig, Session 5 carrier. This is the super lightweight one. I don't remember what's wrong with this, but something's wrong with it. This is the one that I put the AMAX motors on that just absolutely blew me away. These are AMAX Superleggera 2305.5 1950 kV. Super lightweight motors. I think these motors are like 23 grams each. They are crazy lightweight. This thing is under 600 grams with a GoPro Session and a 6S 1050. Here's a 6S 1050. So dry, it is 423 grams with a not dry, with a Session 5, and then with a 6S 1050, it's 591 grams. This thing is awesome. These motors have just enough power for me. I don't like setups with tons and tons and tons of power. I cannot wait to compare this with these relatively low power but super lightweight motors to this guy at 615 grams with the crazy powerful 2207 533 motors. This should cement the fact that I really like lower power. Like, this is fun with these crazy 2207s, but it's just unnecessary, and I don't fly as good with that much power because you lose so much throttle resolution. This is my jam right here. So I'm excited. I forget what got screwed up on this the last time I flew it, but I know that it needs a little bit of love. So yeah, some more 5-inch stuff coming when I've healed, or maybe I can fly like this. Matter of fact, let's see. These two tiny whoop batteries are charged. I hope to hell that that I can still fly because I have a gig on the 13th in Charlotte. So let's see real quick. I'm sure by the 13th it'll be quite a bit healed, but still. Why not be a doomsdayer? Unplugging and replugging the VRX that feeds into the computer. Should be coming up any second. There it is. We're going to fly something chill. We're going to fly... That's not very chill. Fuck it. It's not chill, but we're going to fly it anyway. This is the Hummingbird V4 on the 1.4-inch prop setup. Meteor 65 Pro frame. And I'm just gonna relax. I'm just gonna relax and just float this thing around. I'm not gonna go crazy. It's gonna be fine. Let's just see. Fly your 6 batteries, my friends. Do it. This is your reminder. You can thank me later. I'm like your gym buddy, bro. Mr. Meaty has some meat for me. That's gross. Why you gotta make it gross, bro? Hummingbird V4. Ow! Okay. Yeah. It's, you know what's interesting? I never realized how much, like, your pinky does. Like, you know, most of what we do is with these 2 fingers here that are really strong. But our pinky is certainly connected. And when I grab stuff, it hurts. Oh my god, what's happening? This was a working rig. Oh, the battery lead is in the way of the propeller. That's never gonna work. I remember, yeah, the battery leads on this rig are a little bit too long, and I gotta tuck them up into the frame. There we go, that's better. Yeah, okay, I'm fine. Oh, it's in angle mode. All right, there we go. Just gonna chill. Fly nice and slow. Just gonna chill. Help me! Help me! Thank you! Ah! Oh no! Get some Teddy action. Where did he go? I feel like he's behind me. Is he behind me? I can hear him running. Oh god! Oh, Teddy! Doggy! Don't eat it! Oh! I gotta remember, I'm not bombing down the stairs as hard as I possibly can to try to break a frame anymore. Oh god. Hey! We're playing drums. You know what's super annoying? I was just in the car before all that shit happened the other day. I was like, you know what I haven't done in a while? I haven't played my drum set. I'm gonna go home and play the drum set. Absolutely no way. You play like from your wrists and from your fingers, and like your pinky does a lot of work when you play drums. There's just absolutely no way. It's not happening. This is fine. I mean, it's not great, but like it's okay. It's no big deal. Fly your 6 batteries, my friends. Do it now. I'm gonna do one more real quick. But yeah, I'm fine. The way that I hold the controller, my pinky isn't doing shit. And finger right next to it is totally fine. Not totally fine, but it doesn't hurt at least. The pinky is what hurts like shit. All right. One more, real quick, just for funsies. So yeah, this is a Hummingbird V4 with a Meteor 65 Pro frame and the GemFan 35mm S propellers. Shit! No, no, no! Wow, crash recovery was not working right there. It was recovering to like... Fuck! It was recovering to like some jaunty-ass angle. Ah! My God, that looks cool. I keep wanting to take these... Take this 4-gate thing down. What happened here? Did I knock this guy off? I did indeed. I gotta fix that. I keep wanting to take that down, but every time I go through it, I'm like, nah, I can't take that down. It's just too cool looking. Ah! Suck it, Trebek. Hold on. Let's get a giant power loop in. Oh yeah. So this is on the crazy newbie drone 30,000 kV 702s. Wow, I didn't get nearly enough height. Of the 1.4-inch builds that I've done, this is maybe my least favorite. It's still damn good, but these motors are much better suited for a regular 1.2-inch prop. Oy, even though these motors claim to be... what the fuck? Even though these motors claim to be 30,000 kV, they're actually way higher kV than that. How is this possible? And it's just a bit much. It's asking a bit much. Okay, that's a new one. The Tiny Whoop is completely and utterly jammed into a battery. Oh my God, I can't even get it out. Oh my God, it really won't come out. What the hell? That's insane. That's absolutely insane that just happened. No, and the antenna. I hot glued this antenna to the mount, and now it popped off. I'm gonna leave it there. That's a good place to stop. That's fine. Am I bleeding anymore? Nope. Good to go. Cool. 3.8. All set. Let me get caught up on chat, and then we will shut this mother down. And you guys can go celebrate the death of the United States. Ow. Okay. Yeah, this finger still does hurt. Look at that. I'm not going to do that because some people really don't like gore, and the tip of this finger is pretty ugly. The blade came across, and it almost like there's a cut on the tip of this finger that's like it's like that shape. If the propeller had caught it a little bit more, it would have just it's really thin. But yeah, if the propeller had cut it any more, it would have just sliced a perfectly round piece of my skin off. Just disgusting. Good old 9 fingers CiottiFPV, they call them. There we go. 9 fingies in the house. Oh, Christ. Uriel says, Teddy time. Sporny says, isn't there a quick way to resize the OSD to the correct screen size? Oh, there might be. There might be something buried in the CLI. I don't know the answer to that, but there might be. Michael Blade says, they are 1.5 millimeter. Didn't you help design the 8 millimeter FPVCycle glide frame. I did not. Well, I mean, Bob says in the description that like one of the like I broke so many of the old school glides that he wanted to make something that was more durable, but he actually never sent me one. Like he did all the design and did it and just started selling it on the website. And he offered to send me one once it was up on the website, but I was like, nah, it doesn't share any of the glide parts, and I'm so invested in the old school glide. And the old school glide's fine for me. I don't fly hardcore 5-inch freestyle anymore, so the fact that I break a lot of glide arms, I don't actually break a lot of glide arms anymore because I don't fly them very much. And so yeah, but I had nothing to do with the I did the original glide. Yeah, he sent me early prototypes, and we bounced a lot of stuff back and forth on that. But yeah, the 8mm glide, I've never even seen it in person, other than just through his videos, which is not in person. Michael Blade says the 8mm frame comes with 16 1.5mm brass nuts. I think it's for residents. If they are 1.5mm brass nuts, they are definitely for the flight stacks. And 8 of them makes sense because 4 in the back for the VTX, 4 in the front for the flight controller ESC. So yeah, that works. That makes sense, rather. Uriel says high tilt with give slip when low pitch. I don't know what that means. And then Uriel says, and what's a Nazi car? Nazi cars are Teslas because Elon is a legitimate Nazi. Uriel says, Mercedes? No. Mercedes is a company that supports good things rather than evil, legitimate evil. Sporny says, I just did trial and error. Now with the OSD resizing, it was in the CLI. Yeah, I thought so. Michael Blade says, thank you. You're certainly welcome. Michael Blade also says, I also have the old school glide. I love it. Yeah, the old school glide frame is sort of where 5-inch frame development plateaued. Like up until the glide, 5-inch every single 5-inch frame that came out was like better than the last. And so like we had a whole bunch of years where like 5-inch frames were getting better and better and better and better and better. With the glide, like since the glide, it's been like this. And like so like the frames that are for sale today, most of them are a little bit better than the glide. They're not that much better though. And one of the things that's so magic for me about the glide is there are 5mm thick arms, 6mm thick arms, True X, Dead Cat, 5.5mm arms. I'm sorry, 5.5-inch arms. 7-inch arms, right? And then there's the Cineglide that we were just looking at. There's the regular glide, and they're interchangeable from an arm. The arms are interchangeable, and so like the OG glide is something that like you can have a 5-inch dead cat setup with no frames in view, no props in view. You can have the Cineglide with 5.5-inch dead cat arms. You can have the freestyle ones with either 5mm or 6mm thick arms in True X, right? Like I love how it has 30x30 in the middle and then 20x20 in the front for a front-mounted ESC in like that sort of wasted space. That also pushes the camera out farther forward so that it can run True X arms and not have tons of prop in view. There's just so much to love about the old school glide. And like I have a shitload of I have a ton of extra parts for them. And it's good enough, right? Like you can get it tuned up really nice. Sure, an AOS V5 frame, you're going to be able to tune a little bit further than that. But like that doesn't really matter. Like I can get the glide tunes to the point where they don't prop wash. You don't need to push the tune farther than that. Like that's good enough. It's really easy to live with. The battery the CG levels out really nice because you can push the battery pretty far back. There's a lot of things to love about the glide frame. And yeah, there has not been a frame that's come out since then that has been like good enough or versatile enough where I've been like, yeah, okay, it's worth it. And it would be a pain in the ass to have to tear a bunch of stuff down, right? Like having a whole bunch of setups on the same sort of frame, being able to switch arms around is really nice, right? So yeah, it's for me to move away from the Glide, there's gonna have to be one hell of a frame that comes out, and I just don't think that's gonna happen because we've like, you know, FPV is 10 years in, like we've 10 plus years in actually. There's been all the big advancements in frame design. Unless they start using like a different material, like a carbon Kevlar or something wild like that, I don't think you can engineer a frame that's better enough than the Glide for me to move to it. Never say never, but where I think the future of 5-inch frame design is going to go is aerodynamics. I think the thing that is going to significantly improve a 5-inch frame at this point, rather than the little tiny improvements they've been making, is figuring out a way to make them more aerodynamically efficient. I don't know how the fuck they're going to do that, but you know, we'll see. What I will say, what I really like about the 8mm arm Glide frame is that an 8mm thick arm that is skinnier cross-sectionally is a lot more aerodynamic. And I do wish that there was an 8mm thick old school Glide arm that was thinner. I could probably bug Ryan Harrell enough to design something like that. But again, these arms are pretty skinny as it is. It might be a lot of work for barely any improvement. Brandon McBean says, Impulse RC Echo Blackbird is the cleanest and best flying drone I've tuned. That and the Rotor Riot Bubby Moxie is actually quite clean as well. But can be a tighter build. Echo is made for 04 Pro. Yeah, you know, the new crop of frames are definitely a little bit better, for sure, unquestionably. But they're not enough better to warrant moving away from these. If I was not able to get these tuned to the point where they don't prop wash, it'd be a totally different story. But I am, and I'm not I'm not looking at black box logs, right? Like if I was looking at black box logs like Brandon does, I would probably look at the Glide logs and be like, ugh, that's not quite good enough. But by not looking at those and just flying it and just evaluating it from the flight performance, it doesn't prop wash. And if it doesn't prop wash, I'm happy. And so, you know, the resonance characteristics and the strength of the frame, the importance of that goes way down the list once it's good enough, right? And then all these other things become more important. How is it, like, what's the serviceability? What's the part selection? Can you change a bunch of shit on it to set it up for different usage, right? Dead cat, 5-inch, 5.5-inch, 7-inch, that kind of shit, right? Michael Blade with the last comment of the live stream. He says, I got the Power Pick 4-inch too. Nice. Don E with a $3 super chat. Thank you so much, brother. Oh, and I almost forgot. A couple of folks joined the Patreon last stream when I mentioned, hey, please check your Patreon. They've been kicking people off or switching people over to single month for no reason. So if you haven't, do me a favor and check your Patreon, because I don't know what happened this month. It went down like $200 and something. Jesus Christ, I get a lot of emails. Oh my God. Oh, I really want to give you guys your shout outs because I so appreciate you joining. There it is. Lindsay Massey and Sound Wrecker, welcome to the Gangly Gang. I hope you're seeing this. Thank you so much for joining the Patreon. You will both be on the giveaways this coming Monday. If you're on the $3 a month tier, now is a great time to jump up to the $5 a month tier. You might win $50, $60 worth of Tiny Whoop stuff. You don't have to be on the live streams. You just have to change your tier. $2 extra a month. If you win $50 worth of stuff, that's a pretty good deal, isn't it? If you're not on my Patreon, now is an excellent time. This coming Monday, we will be doing 4 giveaways. 3 of those giveaways are for patrons only. You don't have to be on the live stream. You just have to be a patron. Your info is there. I put you on the, you get a ticket, away you go. You might win. It's the only way that I can do this full time. It's the only way I can do as good of a job as I do with this. So if you want to see these live streams continue, join the Patreon. It's the best way to support me. Thanks for hanging, friends. I'll see you guys on Sunday at 3 o'clock. Email. What just happened? Yikes. I'll figure it out. It's a weird problem to have. Thanks for hanging, friends. See you Sunday at 3. Here's some more Session 5 footage. Session 5 with the 5552s. I didn't play this file. If you want to see what what the 03 air unit on board looks like compared to the Session 5, same battery, same everything, go back to the beginning of the live stream. That was the 03. This is now the Session 5. Kind of a cool comparison, to be really honest. Session 5 is like a 6-year-old camera. 03 is like 2 years old. Shockingly similar, the two of them. Love you, bye! Pray for my fingers.